This video will focus on how climate change affects humanity and will address the question, how does climate change impact our everyday lives? With climate change becoming a great concern, it is important to focus on how humans are affected by this issue on a day-to-day basis. Many news stories show the harmful impacts of climate change on the environment and the dangers this issue presents for the future. Human activity plays a key role in the contributions to climate change, but it seems that many people do not view climate change as the huge issue that it is unless it shows to have a direct impact on them and their lives. Humans must consider how these effects are a key factor in the quality of life for humans, animals, and plant species. It is also important to understand what carbon footprint is and be able to recognize ways that humans can reduce their contributions to climate change. So let's dive in. First, let's think about the relationship between climate change and health. Research has shown that climate change is the biggest health threat facing humanity. The article, Climate Change and Health, says that the peoples whose health is being harmed first and worst by the climate crisis are the people who contribute least to its causes and who are least able to protect themselves and their families against it. If we look at this image, we are able to see how the parts of the world that have the lowest emissions of carbon dioxide are the most vulnerable to its effects, and that the areas that contribute the greatest amount of emissions are the least vulnerable. By looking at this image, we can see that the rising temperatures, extreme weather, sea level rise, and the increasing levels of carbon dioxide are resulting in a multitude of effects on the environment that pose varying threats to human health, such as heart disease, infections and viruses, allergies, asthma, and impacts to mental health. Many people around the world are facing inequalities from the climate crisis, and the global population needs to become more aware of this issue and how we can help those who are struggling. Next, let's discuss how different communities around the world are lacking resources that are essential to life. One of the most prevalent impacts of climate change is the decreased quality of life and loss of biodiversity in the environment. The article, Climate Change Impacts, emphasizes how the things we depend on in our everyday lives, such as water, energy, transportation, agriculture, and our health, are depleting because of climate change. Lastly, it is important for humans to be able to account for their carbon footprint. A carbon footprint is the amount of greenhouse gases generated by one's actions. So let's look at one potential way to calculate our carbon footprint. If you simply search Carbon Footprint Calculator, there will be many resources that will be available to try. If we choose this source, we can see that it will ask for the location and time period that you would like to record. Next, you can insert the amount you have contributed in your household, travel via airplane, car, motorcycle, and bus, and then the amount spent on your secondary contributions. After including all your data, your results will appear with how much metric tons of carbon you have contributed to the environment. This is a great tool to become more aware of what we are putting into the environment on a day-to-day basis. While not intended to shame or criticize human activity, it is important to be informed about our personal carbon footprint so we are able to help save the planet for the future. I hope that by now you are able to understand how climate change is an ongoing environmental crisis that must be accounted for in order to make a difference. We covered how climate change is a huge threat to human health and disproportionately affects different regions around the world. Additionally, we highlighted the depletion of resources that are essential to everyday life, and it is also resulting in decreasing biodiversity and overall quality of life. Lastly, we went over what carbon footprint is and how we as humans can be aware and track our own carbon footprint. If we try to limit emissions into the atmosphere little by little, it will make a difference. The climate crisis is too large now to just avoid its impacts. These factors are crucial to understanding how climate change affects our lives every day. Our knowledge about climate change can only take us so far, but it is up to us to decide whether or not to use the information to do our part in limiting the dangerous effects of climate change. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.